Hello and welcome! This is the 6th MLT tournament, and as you may see, we have quite a lot of competitors. We do actually, in fact, have a total of 10 competitors, which is greatly above last tournament, which is great! And after I have introduced all of these submissions, we will jump straight to the tournament. So, the first fleet is 2nd Battlefleet, the Twins fleet by Exterp 7. This is a spinal mount submission with a total of 124 ships. The fleet is dominated by 2 capital ships, the Conquerors, and an assortment of smaller distractors and fighters. The second fleet is Amma, Vetere, Thankia by Labs, which is a Veterans Challenge submission, which means he is allowed to have 4 times the P cost. His fleet contains 26 ships, all of very similar size, and very general weaponry and function. There is very little specialization, but all of the ships are good for what they are. And the ship is, as you can see, mostly composed of, well, the same size of ships, all of which are medium ships. And the next submission is Arrows by Skill, which has a total of 500 ships, which is a lot and dwarfs any other fleet here. He too has a Veterans Challenge submission, which is why his P cost is 80,000 P. The whole fleet is comprised of the same exact ship, which is a 160p ship, with 1 large laser and not much more. And then we come to NonForDevs at 4th submission, which brings Burning Acid Star 89, which is a single large obsidian ship. This ship has a lot of armor and is mostly built up of huge octagons made out of obsidian and obsidian stone. After that comes Creeper Federation First Detachment by Cookie Creeper, which is a new competitor that has never before competed in MLT. His fleet brings 2 of the same ship, which is literally shaped like a creeper, and brings a lot of rapid artilleries and miniguns, with a lot of shield spam. Then comes New Terran 131st Bomber Attack Division by AnthonyDoesThings, which comes with a very nicely spaced out fleet, with 3 main ships at around 6000 P, and a bit of support for them. This is a true Terran submission, and I believe Anthony has not before competed, unless he has competed in one of the very early MLT tournaments. After that comes Ostranix Retreating Group by LightningJC, which is again a Veterans Challenge submission with a total of 8 ships. However, the majority of the fleet is comprised of just a single massive capital at over 70,000 P. This is the largest ship we have met yet. The rest is a bit of support leftovers that LightningJC himself said he couldn't fit in the radius allowed. Then comes Dill with Play Zeroranger, a true Terran submission with a fleet comprised of 21,000 P ships. Then MGV returns with a broken design, Up Your Arsenal, which is the name of the fleet, which is comprised of a total of 2 ships, most of which is comprised in a single large indestructible ring again. He has found another way to exploit thrusters, which will surely be patched before next MLT. He also has a smaller ship to produce due to the fact the ring having factories. The last fleet is Joyous 18 with Wrench Flag Fleet, which is comprised of 3 ships. 2 bombers, which have 1 large shield and a lot of missiles, and 1 very large capital called Large Battleship, which is mostly made up of armor, the very durable farmer block. Now, without saying much more, I'll start. So, first up we have Exturb 7 up against Laps. Now we may see how Veteran's Challenge can stand up against spile mounts. We can see some of Laps' ships are gone already, but that is to be expected with how fragile this faction is. But Exturb has lost a fair bit of points too. So we can see Labs has soon lost around half of his fleet, which is not a good thing since Exturb has only lost around 1/4 of his fleet. It appears that the distractors are a problem for Labs' fleet, since otherwise his fleet could have focused the capitals in Exturb's fleet. We can see that Labs is soon close to having as much P as Exturb. And Exturb is doing very well. We can see that Exturb's railguns are devastating, piercing straight through these relatively large ships with a single shot. Only 1 ship remained, and the first round goes to Exturb. And, dude, before I forget it again, I am from now on going to start introducing fleets before starting the match. So, here we can see Exturb's fleet. This is the Conqueror, which has a lot of forward-facing guns, which is not surprising considering Spile Mounts only has spinal weapons, and he has a lot of armor and burst plating, these light adapters. Then we have these small swarm ships, which we have already seen properly in the menu screen. Those do use Armor Plus, which is incredibly light, allowing them to be super fast. Then, when we look at Laps's fleet, this is one of his ships. I believe this is the cheaper one. It comes with 1 medium shield, 1 large laser, and 2 triple cannons. These do have a lot of range and a lot of damage. Otherwise, a lot of, I believe it's kinetic cannons, or something similar. The other one brings 1 large VC shield, a lot of generators, and a lot of general weaponry, with 2 large lasers and 1 triple cannon. And I will now resume the match. So, will Labs be able to fight off Exturb's fleet this time? If the ships will be able to deal with the swarm first, quickly enough, then they could all focus the capitals from Exturb. We can see that Labs has been stripped of 20,000 P already. The capitals are not really taking any damage, which is very bad for Labs. We can also see the arena is overflowing with R dropped by Labs' dead ships. And the arena is also now filled with wreckage from those same ships. This means lab exterps, capitals, may spam extra ships as much as they want, due to exterp having fitted them with factories. Only 3 ships from labs remain. Only 2 ships remain now, one of which are very heavily damaged. And only 1 remains. The second round goes to exterp with a large margin. Now we have exterp versus skill. And as we can see, skill's fleet is massive. If we look at one of the ships, it's primarily fitted with 1 large laser and 1 medium weapon. They are not very speedy, but they do have a fair bit of shielding to protect from some splash. Sadly, these shields are not very powerful, and there is not very much more to say about them, except the fact they look a bit like arrows. So, can exterp manage to deal with this fleet before he loses? Due to skills increased P cap, it means exterp has to remove at least 60,000 P before he may overtake skill in points. And it does not seem like that will happen, considering how quickly exterp's points are going down. If we zoom in a bit, we can see that the capitals do very quickly deal with anything in their sights, but they do have issues targeting so many enemies all at once. Again, due to the fact they only have fixed weaponry. Exterp's fleet has now been severely reduced, and the only strong standing members from exterp's fleet are those 2 capitals. The others are very quickly swatted down by the lasers from skill's fleet. Below 10 ships from exterp remain now. This very much hurts exterp's ability to deal with a lot of ships. And now only the capitals remain. They are not taking any real damage, but unless they can inflict enough damage on skill's fleet, it won't really help much. Skill still remains with around 60,000 P. Exterp has not been able to share off enough points from it. And the match ends, and the first round goes to skill. Unless skill's fleet somehow becomes incredibly dumb and chooses to only target the capitals, I'm not sure exterp has a chance. His fleet is simply not fitted to fight a lot of smaller ships, like Skill's fleet. Something we can see with Exterp's capitals is that they do have burst splitting spam, which can actually help out in situations like these, due to the fact any enemy nearby will simply be removed by the bullet spam the burst plating produces. Sadly, not all of the swarm is stupid enough to get that close. We can see that Exterp's fleet has once again been reduced to only 2 capitals. And as mentioned, even though they don't really take any damage, they do not really deal the damage they need either. Skill is now reduced to around 60,000 points, which is 5 times Exterp's current amount. It's not that Exterp's ships deal too little damage, it's just that they are not able to carpet bomb a large fleet and instead have very focused damage, such as the railguns. A single railgun shot can easily take out 10 of Skill's ships, but usually the ships are not lined up well like that. So the win goes to Skill and he proceeds. Now we have Exterp versus NonForDevs. Sorry, I forgot to display the submission again. So it can be difficult to see exactly what is going on here due to the large amount of stacking, but NonForDevs has a lot of obsidian. These blue, kind of dark blue octagons are obsidian, so it's a very durable submission. And we can also see large mineral cannons in here, powerful mineral cannons to be exact. And we can also see a lot of magma launchers, with of course a lot of thrusters to move all of that. And maybe the most flashy part, there's a lot of magma vents. So if Exterp's fleet is very stupid about how it maneuvers, it might kill itself on the NonForDevs defense. Oh, Exterp's, one of the conquerors are being very stupid, ramming NonForDevs, which is not a great choice. Most of Exterp's fleet has now been reduced, probably due to the magma launchers, and only 1 conqueror remains. We can see that the conqueror that remains is making some child ships, which make for great distractors, delaying the death of the conqueror. The Conqueror has now taken some fire. Something I have noticed is that the Conquerors do have a very stupid behavior where they stay right outside their main weapon range and instead just fire with the railguns, which is not sufficient damage to make any real harm to NonForDevs. We can see a very large magma blob developing toward Exterp, and that might be very bad. Oh, the Conqueror appears to lose some control due to having lost some maneuvering thrusters. NonForDevs has only lost around 400 points, which is not sufficient to give Exterp a win, and the first round goes to NonForDevs. Now, if Exterp's ships do fire and move a bit more intelligently, Exterp may possibly win, but it does not seem like the ships are being very intelligent, as you can see from one of the Conquerors dying very quickly. The Conquerors do seem to ignore the magma and frozen magma, which flies around, which is not a good thing. NonForDevs does not have a large need to maneuver much, due to how long-range guns and magma launchers he has. NonForDevs is now positioned poorly to fire the magma launchers at Exterp, which is probably why Exterp's Conqueror is still alive. But now NonForDevs has fired a bit at that Conqueror with his main guns, which do deal a lot of damage. Only one support ship remains, and it is now gone. Well, one of them are still at the back of Exterp's ship, but it's somehow stuck. And the win goes to NonForDevs. Now, we have Cookie Creeper versus Exterp. If we look at one of the creepers, we can see that the majority of the hull is made out of heavy alloy, with some details made out of light alloy. We can see a lot of shield spam and a lot of almost impossible to see rapid artilleries. At the back we have two large generators, one medium generator and a bunch of smaller ones, with the core hidden somewhere inside the shield spam. And that's that submission. So we can see the creepers being very confused by the supporting fleet of Exterp, which makes them not fire their main weapons at Exterp's conquerors at all. We can also see the shield spam is very much punished by the explosive cannons on Exterp's ships, since the cannons do deal the splash damage to all of the shields all at once. One of the creepers are now down. We can see that the second creeper is in great trouble, being completely unable to deal with the swarm or the large ships. And it's gone. The first round went to Exterp. If Cookie Creeper's ships would focus the Conquerors, he could possibly win, but it does not seem like that will happen. The first creeper is now greatly damaged, but the Conquerors are again doing the stupid thing where they keep a too great range to hit with their main cannons, and one of the creepers are doomed. Only one creeper now remains, and its back is exposed. But the shield spam does somewhat help protect the core. Ooh, the majority of the shields have been removed and the core is very much exposed. And the win goes to Exterp. Currently Exterp is the leader. Now we have AnthonyDoesThings versus Exterp. If we look at his fleet, we can see very interesting true Terran designs. They do have one medium shield, which is very durable for the true Terrans. A lot of torpedoes, as we can see, some large ones in the front, and a lot of smaller ones spread through the ship. Some explosive disarmers, some bombardment missiles, and some cruise missiles. We can see that these ships are centered around a launchable spam. We can see something similar with the smaller one, while the tiny ships are just smaller gun probes without launchables. Exterp does have the fleet advantage by being much larger, but it is possible the missiles could win. Anthony's ships do also appear to be quite fast, so they could possibly kite Exterp's conquerors. Anthony has not lost a large amount of points. Exterp has lost 4,000 points. It appears Anthony is in the lead. Oh, one of the main ships are taking heavy damage. And one of the main ships from Anthony are completely gone, which is very bad for Anthony. And it switches the point spots. Now Exterp is in the lead. I did forget to mention that Anthony does also have some medium railguns, which you can see sometimes firing. Only one main ship remains now, which is very bad news for Anthony, and I doubt he can recover. And the first round goes to Exterp. In the second round, Anthony does appear to again be in the point lead, and he may stay like that if none of his main ships die. Oh, one of the main ships are being targeted again, which is very bad for Anthony. And one of the main ships are completely gone. It appears Exterp's fleet is too quick about dealing with the support ships from Anthony, which means the Conquerors do end up pointing their guns at Anthony's main ships, and those are unable to outrun them. The Conquerors are surprisingly fast, and they are unable to outgun them. Only the main ships from Anthony remain now. Anthony is losing on points, and time is running short. And the win goes to Exterp. Now, we have Exterp versus LightningJC. And here we can see the massive Veterans Challenge ship. It does not appear to have very many large lasers, but it has a very large amount of triple cannons and some small lasers with a very large amount of these small point defense guns. It does also have large shields and not much more, I believe. It is possible there is a hidden factory, but I can clearly not see it. The support ships, at least some of them, have the large caliber cannon with some small lasers and again a lot of point defense guns and large shields. We can see something similar with the smallest ships, just at a smaller scale. And that sums up LightningJC's fleet. Now I am wondering how LightningJC will hold up against the fire from the Conquerors. It is likely Exterp's swarm will distract the main ship from LightningJC, which we can see is happening, and that means LightningJC is not focusing on the Conquerors, which are the main threat. We can see the railguns are extremely devastating, and LightningJC has lost the first round. I do expect LightningJC to do well in 1v1 matches, but the swarm is simply too distracting. It might seem like LightningJC is focusing a conqueror now. Oh no, he was almost doing it, but he isn't. Well, this is spelling certain doom again. And here we can see how fragile Veteran's challenge is. Now we have Dill versus Exterp. Dill comes with the Play Zeroranger fleet, and it's a fleet made up of 1000 P ships with mainly the large thrusters, a little bit of bombardment missiles, some heavy alloy, some cannons, and I believe belt-fed miniguns. It seems like they focus on very quick alpha damage and then running away. They are also shielded. Exterp has lost quite a lot of points, but Dill Pickaxe appears to lose points quicker now. Dill Pickaxe has now lost his lead. It appears he has not brought anything that can effectively deal with a swarm, or the very heavy armor from Exterp. Dill Pickaxe has not lost a great deal of ships though. Only a lot of points. We can see the bombardment missiles swarming the map, but they are not good at dealing with fast and small ships like what Exterp brings. Dill Pickaxe is now reduced to only 50% of his initial ships, below actually now, and his points are soon to be about half of what Exterp has. I am sure Dill Pickaxe can deal very well with slow opponents, but sadly Exterp is basically a hard counter with the very quick nature of all of Exterp's ships. So the first round goes to Exterp. In the second round we can see Dill Pickaxe starting off well again, possibly due to the bombardment missile spam. But again, Exterp's fleet is extremely distracting, making Dill Pickaxe not target the conquerors almost at all. Exterp now has below 100 ships. The situation is somewhat similar to how it was in the previous match, but Exterp appears to do it a bit worse this time. Dill pickaxe is still losing at points though. Only half a minute is left, with Dill pickaxe soon eclipsing 10,000p. But the match is a lot closer this time, but I do not think Dill pickaxe will be able to make up the difference in points before the match ends in 3 seconds. And the win goes to Exterp. Exterp appears to do very well this tournament. And now, for basically the boss of this tournament, we have MGV. This is the support ship. We can see it is mostly made up of the large thrusters, large rhombus thrusters, the ones which cannot be stacked. But it appears that you can place smaller thrusters on them, and all of them will get the thruster boost. So MGV has found another exploit, which you can see here, and it leads to very large thruster plumes and very high speeds. And due to this exploit, we can again see he has made a ring out of pure dense obsidian. This will not bode well for any of the other submissions. He does also bring a lot of resource production, magma launchers, and powerful cannons. He also has a factory somewhere here, and the largest core obsidian has available. So, as you can see, MGV's submission is surprisingly quick to be made out of pure dense obsidian, and the smaller one has over 2000 acceleration, I believe. But the faster submission does have issues dealing with the swarm, while the main circle is taking heavy fire from Exterp, but judging from the points, it does not seem like MGV has taken much damage. The support ship is still alive, probably due to the high durability of obsidian thrusters. MGV did collect some resources, suggesting he is making support ships. But because he is taking fire, the support ships cannot be released. We can see the initial support ship is still somewhat alive. It has not yet lost a single large thruster. We can see the spam of magma causes a minefield that none of Exterp's swarm ships can pass through without being in great danger. Oh, one of the conquerors is taking a lot of magma directly. And one of the conquerors are now split in half, not leaving anymore. The second conqueror is trying to do its best, but oh, MGV did not take fire for a moment, and now the swarm is released, while the conqueror was destroyed. Because of that, the first round went to MGV. It appears his ring is close to unbreakable. Not a single block was broken, even though MGV does not use the largest blocks available. We can see the conquerors unleashing their firepower again. Oh, the Conqueror did switch targets, very quickly dealing with the support ship. The second Conqueror is heavily damaged, but it did get a small briefing break to repair a bit. It is, however, backing into MGV, which is probably not a wise choice. Oh, the first Conqueror is still somewhat alive. Not for very much longer though. And the win goes to MGV. Now, we have Exterp versus Joyous 18. Joyous 18 brought an Evolved Farmer submission, which I believe I forgot to mention. And as I mentioned, he did have 2 support ships, with 1 large shield, a lot of point defenses as you can see, a lot of generators, and a lot of very large missiles, with a fair bit of speed. While the main ship, this is all armor. This is the durable farmer block. He does also have the medium range, no, I believe these are the HC3s or HC2s. I am not sure. They are very similar in looks. These are the long-range artillery guns glitched or stacked into heavy turrets, which are the big ones. Here he also has the turreted scatter guns, which are very dangerous shotguns, and a lot of stacked point defense, with shielding above most of it, with a very cool look made by stacking a medium shield inside a large shield. You can see these double circles, which are very interesting in looks. His armament does also have more lasers. These are not point defense ones, these are offensive lasers. The wide ones are point defense. And a lot of large generators with a tiny bit of farm. I'm not sure it's there for functional purposes. And some R generators and a factory, so it does have production capability. It does also have the farmer drone launchers that you can find in Evolved Farmers, with some medium missiles. Well, I basically summed up all of Joyous 18's submission, but yeah, it is also very large and very durable. We'll see how it can do. The lasers, as you can see, are extremely useful against the swarm. the bombers are having issues dealing with the damage output of the swarm. Joyous 18's capital has taken some damage, and one of the bombers are still alive. But the splash from Exterp's fleet is very bad. The armor is very durable to kinetic damage, but it is vulnerable to splash. Luckily, Joyous does have some shields, but sadly they are very quickly dealt with by the railguns. The bomber is still alive, bombarding Exterp's ships from behind, which might save Joyous. Oh, Exterp's fleet is now gone. Only the main ships remain, so now Joyous's capital can do what it's best at, dealing with pesky large single enemies. And it does appear to be very effective at this. The drones are firing away. Sadly for Joyous, the heavy turrets do not reach, but all the missiles do reach, and one of the Conquerors are actually down already, due to the bomber. We can see that Joyous's armor is near impenetrable by Exterp from the front, and Joyous is now executing with his heavy cannons. And that is the end of Exterp. Joyous wins the first round. We can see the lasers again, using a lot of time trying to swat down the over 100 ships Exterp has. And Joyous has already lost one of his bombers, which is not good for him. Oh, Joyous's capital is taking heavy damage this time, much heavier than last time, and the capital is down. I doubt Joyous can recover from that loss this round. The bomber's shields cannot keep up against this damage. It is fast enough though to mostly stay away from the swarm. Oh, one of the Conquerors got close enough to fire its ray guns. Yeah, the railguns are very dangerous. It does not seem like Joyous can recover from the loss. His points are too low. And the second round went to Exterp. This is the deciding round between Exterp and Joyous. I think the deciding factor is whether extra ships stay close enough or not, since the explosive cannons are extremely devastating. And they are now staying close enough to inflict maximum damage. And Joyce's capital is extremely in danger. Oh, but it is surprisingly quick. And both of Joyce's bombers are still alive. The main capital has been downed. Now only the 2 bombers remain. And if they are lucky, they may survive. They may only survive if they are not distracted long enough for the conquerors to get close. But they are being distracted, so as you can see, they are being downed. Only 1 bomber remains. And the win went to Exterp. Exterp has done very well. Now we have Labs versus Skill. The 2 Veterans Challenge submissions. Well, 2 of them, there is 1 more. 2 of the Veterans Challenge submissions fighting each other. We can see both parts losing points very rapidly, but Skill is losing them quicker, and Labs does have the numbers to possibly deal with all of this. Oh, they are very even on points. Labs has in fact already lost 6 ships, while Skill has lost 100. A difference in numbers maybe? The wreckage from Labs is shielding his other ships. And it does seem like it takes a while for Skill's fleet to breach Labs' ships. They are once again very even on points. But Labs is losing a bit more than Skill. We can see that Labs' ships are filled with quite a lot of air, which does not help against lasers like Skill's lasers. Labs is now below 10,000 points, with only 4 ships remaining. Only 2 ships remain now. Only 1 ship remain now. While Skill does still have over 100 ships. The last ship is very close to being gone, and it's gone. The first round did go to Skill. It seems like the swarm was too great, and Laps's lack of large lasers led to him being unable to target tiny targets like these enough. Once again, the match starts off with Laps leading on points. He does not lose very much initially. Laps is leading by a bit over 1,000 points. He was anyways, until he started losing ships. Laps is now losing on points. If we zoom in on some ships to make it a bit more interesting, we can see that the ships do quite rapidly deal with single skill ships with the help of the point defense guns, which are usually not useful main weapons, but here we are. And well, the large lasers do have quite powerful burst damage, which means they can down the shield very quickly. Oh, the cores in one of Laps's designs are placed very far in front, which means they can be quite quickly sniped. Laps is clearly losing at this point, with Skill still having 154 ships, while Laps only has 1. The shield has now failed, the core is exposed and is gone. The win went to Skill. Now we have Laps versus NonForDevs. Laps does have those triple cannons that I mentioned, and they are very good at dealing with slow and armored targets. But Laps's shields are getting a bit close, in which, yeah, that ship disappeared, that one disappeared, oh, that one also disappeared. As you can see, the ships are being incredibly stupid. I'm not surprised if Laps will be disappointed when seeing this. But yeah, the ships are ramming, into blobs of magma that delete even armored factions like true Terran. Yes, this was a fail of an assault. And the first round goes to NonForDevs. can see the first of Laps's ships being quite quickly shredded, and now the volcanic vents remove anything nearby. Some magma has been launched, removing a few more ships. Seriously, Veteran's challenge is just like air. It's almost as if it isn't there. Now some of Laps's ships have come into useful positions, so at least some of them are trying, something most of them didn't. But yes, it's futile. Keep in mind, as I mentioned earlier, No, never mind. Sorry, I thought this was MGV. I may have to nerf magma launchers, because as you can see here, they may be too powerful. Well, the win did go to NonForDevs. Now we have Cookie Creeper versus Labs. Now we can see if Cookie Creeper's deadly rain of rapid artillery can do anything against Labs' ships. We can also see that the volley of miniguns can also do a fair bit. Here, Cookie Creeper's shields are actually not all that bad, due to the fact Labs does completely lack explosives. And explosives are the only reason Cookie Creeper's shield stacking could have been a problem. Cookie Creeper has not yet lost any ships, but Labs has lost quite a bit. You can see Labs' ships are being ripped apart by the high damage rapid artilleries. The first round went to Cookie Creeper. Even though the triple cannons do deal a lot of damage, their inability to focus that damage on a single spot on the enemy is causing issues. Oh, one of the creepers are taking heavy damage. Labs has now lost the majority of his fleet, while maybe one of the creepers will fail soon. But the shield spam around Cookie Creeper's cores is sufficient to keep the triple cannons away. And the win went to Cookie Creeper. Now we have Labs versus AnthonyDoesThings with his true Terran submission with a lot of torpedoes and missiles. We can see that the missiles are being very effective. Labs has brought point defense, but he has not brought nearly enough. We can see the bombardment missiles are doing quite a good job, especially with how fragile all VC things are. Labs is currently still leading on points, but due to the fact Anthony has only lost around 1,300 points, I doubt Labs will manage to win. All of the launchables are simply too much. Labs does now have below the points that Anthony has, which is probably not a good thing, considering Veterans Challenge gets 4 times points. And the first round goes to AnthonyDoesThings. Labs is still currently holding up quite a bit, but Anthony is not really losing much in terms of points. Ooh, we could see a railgun cut straight through one of the ships. Labs is currently low on points and does now have less points than Anthony. Another ship was cut apart by a railgun. Anthony now has more ships than Labs. And AnthonyDoesThings wins against Labs. Now we have Labs versus LightningJC, which is the last Veterans Challenge submission, and it creates a deadly rain of triple cannons. But the one large ship strategy may be a vulnerable strategy, considering Veterans Challenge has no way to deal with damage effectively. So being focused like this, as we can see, it leads to an end. The first round went to Labs. We can see LightningJC taking out quite a few of Labs' ships quite rapidly, but he's also quite rapidly losing armor and mass. His core is now close to being exposed and it's gone. Only the support ships of LightningJC remain, but those may be enough if they are good enough. Oh, only one, and the win goes to Labs. Now we have Labs versus Dill Pickaxe. Dill Pickaxe has a bit of a weird armament, but he has a lot of burst damage if he needs it. Labs does not seem to have an effective way to deal with very fast medium ships, which is why he has only taken out one of Dill Pickaxe's ships yet. Labs has now lost the majority of his points, while Dill Pickaxe is also taking moderate losses. Labs is rapidly losing ships. And it appears the first round goes to Dill. We can see that the bombardment missile spam is very effective. Labs does now have below the points Dill has, which means he has probably lost. Dill has only lost a single ship, which is now the amount Labs has of ships, and the win goes to Dill. Now we have Labs versus MGV with his incredibly broken obsidian, and I doubt there is any reason for anticipation here. We can see that MGV is very quickly destroying Labs' ships without much effort. But Labs is dealing quite a lot of damage with those triple cannons. Far enough from enough to actually break the ring though. We can see the support ship from MGV is skirmishing with one of Laps's ships. Only that ship remains, due to the fact MGV's support ship does not have very much in terms of damage. Oh, there are now more of the support ships. But the support ships do seem to be too fast for their own good, due to the fact obsidian weaponry is quite slow. MGV's main ship came and yeah, the first round goes to MGV. Laps is very rapidly losing points again, having already lost over 20,000, now 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 points, 60,000 points. There is now very little left of Laps's fleet. The Ring of Doom is not facing much opposition. If we look at MGV's main ship, we can see how incredibly fast it is compared to being made completely out of dense obsidian. The last ships are being very quickly picked off, and only one remains and it's gone. The win goes to MGV. Now we have Labs versus Joyous 18. Now we may see if the Pharma fleet can manage to beat Veteran's challenge. And I would expect it can, due to the fact that Joyous's main ship is made out of armor, which, as mentioned earlier, is the strongest against kinetic, which is the main damage form of Labs. The ship is taking quite a bit of damage, but it is for now still dealing quite well with it. Below 50% of Laps's initial fleet remains. The bombers are unharmed, and the main ship still has ways to go before it dies. I may have been incorrect about Joyce's main ship having HC3s. It appears to be the smaller MC3 weapon. The drones are providing nice support, but needed, and the first round goes to Joyce. Joyous is being exposed to quite a lot of damage. The heavy missiles from the bombers are extremely devastating, As you can see, they do not meet much resistance when it comes to bombarding Lapsus ships. They have a huge blast radius and a fair bit of damage. Their only downside is being slow. Only 4 ships remain. And the bombers seem to be dealing with the rest. Only 1 ship now remains. And the win goes to Joyce. Now we have NonForDevs versus Skill. NonForDevs' main bet is probably that the magma launchers can deal with this swarm. We can see the magma launchers are already dealing with quite a few ships very rapidly. If we look at the ship counter for Skill, we can see the number is quite quickly going down. Skill has now lost 20,000 P. While NonForDevs has lost close to no damage, close to no points. I may also have accidentally called NonForDevs MGV. It is possible NonForDevs will be unable to deal with Skill's fleet quickly enough to take it below his own amount of points. The fleet is still quite big, and some of the ships are incredibly dumb. Something I have noticed before is that the more ships a fleet has in tournament mode, the more stupid each and every ship is. Realistically, all of these would have swarmed this single ship, but no. So the first round goes to Skill. Skill does appear to lack the amount of damage needed to break through NonForDevs' armor in any capacity. Skill has now lost 10,000 P. It does seem like the turning speed of NonForDevs' turrets is a limiting factor at the moment. Around 1.5 minutes has already passed, and Skill still has above 50% of his points, which probably means NonForDevs will be unable to deal with it. Skill now has below 50% of his ships. But time is running out. And the win goes to Skill. He simply spammed enough that NonForDevs wasn't able to do anything about it. Due to Cookie Creeper's main weaponry being artillery, I think it is not very probable he will be able to deal with this fleet. You do almost need a fleet of your own to deal with Skill's fleet. Skill is currently leading on points, and he still has over 50% of his points left, even after over 50% of the round's time. Cookie Creeper has not lost very many points. Due to issues I have had running this tournament, which is why this tournament is so delayed, and due to how problematic massive fleets like this are, I will probably limit next tournament's fleet size to maybe 200 ships. Probably 200 ships or below. Since, well, as we can see, it is not incredibly interesting to watch a fleet like this. But also, due to reassembly's limited amount of RAM usage, the initial fleet Skill sent me actually crashed the game. due to using up all the RAM the game is allowed to use. So this means fleets have to be smaller, or I can literally not run them. And this is not a hardware issue, it's a limitation of the game. So expect to not see as massive swarms like these in the next tournaments. I believe skill won first round, and we can see that currently skill is still leading on points, even though over half of the match has already passed. Cookie Creeper has not lost a lot of points though. Only half a minute is left. Scale still has about 50% of his ships, but Cookie Creeper is technically still doing very well. It is also an option that I may extend round durations in the future, but my main issue with that is that tournaments will then become incredibly long. Which they already are. Well, the win went to skill. It was close, only 7,000 points off, but well. Now we have skill versus AnthonyDoesThings. We can see that AnthonyDoesThings' main ships are rushing into the swarm, which may not be a wise choice. It does seem like his ships are receiving quite a lot of laser power, and the shields have already failed on one of the ships. So this means he will lose points and possibly blocks, which is not a good thing for him. We can see his main ships are shedding blocks. Or so I thought. Those could have been bombardment missiles. If we look here, no, the ship has not really taken any real damage. The shield has failed multiple times, which has allowed AnthonyDoesThings to lose over 4,000 points. But AnthonyDoesThings appears to be able to deal with skill swarm quite quickly, since skills amounts of ships have declined quite quickly. You can see the railguns took out 2 ships all at once. Most of AnthonyDoesThings' ships are now gone. Only one support ship remains. It may be that AnthonyDoesThings' support fleet was what was allowing him to deal with ships all that quickly. It seems like skills loss of ships has slowed down. AnthonyDoesThings has now lost around 5,000 points. More than that actually. While Skill has lost about half of his points. Below half a minute is left. And Anthony has made good progress. And the first round went to Skill. Skill has now lost around soon 1,500 points. Well, 15,000 actually. I forgot a zero there. While Anthony has lost around 4,000 points. Skill has now lost 50% of his points. While he still has above 50% of his ships. Only 50 seconds of the match remain, and it does not seem like Anthony will be able to bring skills points below his own. And the win goes to skill. Now we have skill versus LightningJC, and I'm actually not sure what may happen here. Skill does not have particularly powerful damage, and LightningJC does not have very anti-swarm weapons, but it could be that all the triple cannons may function similarly to the magma cannons of Obsidian when it comes to dealing with swarms. It's at least what it looks like. They affect such a wide area that they may actually be useful. LightningJC only has half of his ships left, and he still has the majority of his points, while skill is rapidly losing his points. LightningJC has not really lost much in terms of points or armor, or he has actually not taken much damage at all at his main ship. His smaller ships, however, have almost all been defeated except for one. Now only the main ship remains, and the shields actually appear to be useful. Sadly for LightningJC, he did not put shield all over his thrusters, which are frequently being blown off. LightningJC is leading with around 20,000 points, which is probably an unrecoverable amount for skill. It may not seem like it, but LightningJC has actually lost quite a bit of mass. It's just that it's roughly disappearing evenly all over his craft. And the first round goes to LightningJC. It appears his massive capital ship is superior in this case. I believe skill only lacks the coordination of his swarm to win, but as I mentioned earlier, it appears that AI in tournament mode becomes quite a lot more stupid once you have a lot of them. LightningJC appears to again do quite well, but his ship has taken more damage than before. LightningJC's ship has taken severe damage, but it seems like he still wins. LightningJC wins. Now we have skill versus Dill. Dill might be able to deal with the swarm if his ships do not die too quickly. It is possible the large amount of lasers might swat his ships too quickly. Skill has now lost around 10,000 points, with Dill having lost around 2,000. No ships lost on Dill's side yet. Skill has now lost 20,000 points. Dill has still not yet lost any ships. It is possible those shields are being very useful right now on Dill's ships. We can see that Skill has now lost close to half of his fleet and points, while Dill Pickaxe only has lost around 5,000 points, while still not having lost any ships. It does become close though, especially with that preview ship we can see in the corner. It is quite damaged right now. And Dill has lost his first ship. Incidentally, it was the one we saw in the screen in the top left, top right. We can see Skill has now lost close to enough to be below Dill's amount of points. Once that happens, Dill's victory is probably assured. And it has now happened. Now Dill has overtaken Skill in points. And the first round does go to Dill. Still, Skill has now lost 100 ships. A lot of time is remaining, and Skill has now lost close to half of his points. And we can see that the ships from Dill are doing quite well, even though some of them are becoming unintentional spinners, which might be preferable. We can see that the burst of belt-fed miniguns is actually being useful, since Dill's ships can remove one of Skill's ships in just about a fraction of a second. We can see that R and wreckage is littering the arena. Sadly, none of the teams are using factories. And it was a decisive victory to Dill. Now we have Skill versus MGV. The lasers are trying to do something about MGV's support ship, but I am not seeing a failure yet. We can see Skill's numbers decreasing rapidly due to the large amounts of magma flying around. And MGV's support ship is in danger. We can see that MGV's impenetrable ring is not really taking much damage. I suppose MGV's design may only be fragile against things like nukes, which have the splash radius to actually surpass the ring. We can see that Skill's points are approaching MGV's amount of points. Skill now has far below the amount of points MGV has, and the end of the round is approaching, which probably means Skill will win. And he won the first round. Skill has not yet lost very much, but it is first now that the magma actually gets to his fleet. That veteran's challenge did stop that magma orb completely, which will decrease its effectiveness. But even so, Skill's numbers and especially points are getting thin. And they are now almost the same as MGV's. MGV has now taken a point lead, and Skill has very little hope of getting through that ring to take that back. Now only a few seconds are left, and MGV almost managed to remove all of Skill's fleet. MGV takes the win. Now we have Skill versus Joyous 18. Last tournament, Joyous was actually the one who dealt with Skill Swarm the best. He was at least one of those who dealt with it acceptably. But I actually do not think he might be able to do it this time. He may still be able to due to these lasers, which are very quickly swatting, and the missile spam from the bombers. But he is lacking in the amount of ships he has, which is obviously not a good thing for him. Now, Joyous has not lost a lot of points yet, and Skill has already lost around 15,000 points. These heavy turrets are very overkill. Joyous is well on his way to defeat Skill's fleet, however the timer is a problem and Skill still has half of his fleet left. Even though Joyous did a good effort, the first round goes to Skill. Joyous has lost a ship, which is a problem obviously. That bomber wasn't wise in rushing into the fleet, and all of the Skill's ships do have lasers, which means the speed of the bomber was not very useful. This bomber should probably also get away as quickly as it can before it too will be defeated. This loss for Joyous is probably unrecoverable. I know I have been saying this a lot about fleets that face Skill, but yeah. You need all hands you can get to defeat something like Skill. Oh, the second one, I saw it went to 1 out of 3. Yes, the second bomber was, it seems like Joyous had bad luck this round, since both of his bombers are now down. Well done. His ship will certainly not die, but he will probably not win either. Only 10 seconds are remaining. And the win goes to Skill. His spam was too great again. Now we have NonForDevs versus Cookie Creeper. Skill's matches have now ended. You can see NonForDevs' powerful mineral cannons are extremely powerful. This means he can tunnel through a lot of armor very quickly, without much effort. However, Cookie Creeper did use heavy alloy for most of his ship, so it is still quite durable. We can see NonForDevs is losing points, and technically Cookie Creeper should have been outfitted quite well to fight NonForDevs due to the rapid artillery. But yeah, it appears the Creeper is unable to maneuver properly. Luckily for Cookie Creeper, NonForDevs does not appear to try to maneuver properly, so he has his golden chance to try to defeat NonForDevs. Yes, this is a good chance, for as long as the Creeper does not rush into NonForDevs. We can see NonForDevs actually taking some damage. I'm still not sure it is enough. This is obsidian after all, and scale 10 at that. So it is very hard to get through, but it might be possible. Maybe not in the amount of time we have left though. And it does seem like the Creeper is slowly drifting further away, which means the bullets expire before they get to NonForDevs now. So it seems like this round will go to NonForDevs. We can see Cookie Creeper starting out quite well again. Sadly, he does lack backing trust, so he cannot get out of this situation effectively. The Creeper has now been cored and is likely to lose. The shields are far from enough to face these mineral cannons, and one of the Creepers are down. We can see that the bullets from Cookie Creeper do expire before they get to NonForDevs, which means none of the damage actually gets to him. It seems like the win will go to NonForDevs. Now we have NonForDevs versus AnthonyDoesThings. which should be an interesting match, considering AnthonyDoesThings does have torpedoes and various other launchables, but it could be that the spam of magma vents, volcanic vents actually, around NonForDevs ship is too great to be penetrated by these missiles. But luckily for Anthony, the ships do appear to be intelligent enough to keep range from this enemy. NonForDevs appears to not turn anymore, which might be a great chance for AnthonyDoesThings to somehow get through that armor. It could also be that the explosives disarmers could be useful against these exact explosives by making a path through the volcanic vents, as you can see here. They absorb the bullets, but yeah, the bombardment missiles are too slow. The torpedoes are too inaccurate, or the ships are at least not aiming correctly, while the bombardment missiles do not have the range. The cruise missiles do, however, get there, but they are not sufficient to get through very much. And the first round goes to NonForDevs due to his incredible durability, the resilience to explosives, or any launchable basically, due to the volcanic vents, and AnthonyDoesThings ships AR stupidity. So you can see that the ships do keep considerable range again. NonForDevs does not attempt to turn, which is again good for Anthony, but the bombardment missiles at least do not reach, and those are the ones which had the greatest chance of getting through the volcanic vents due to their incredible durability. The match ends, and the incredible durability of NonForDevs was too much. Anthony did not lose very much points either, but his support ships did get too close and got themselves killed. Now we can see if LightningJC has any chance of doing anything to NonForDevs. Can see NonForDevs is losing points rapidly, and the support ships of LightningJC they are distracting NonForDevs. But yeah, once the mineral cannons actually target LightningJC, the chances of survival go to 0. LightningJC does need more time to fire, or else he is definitely going to lose. The other ships just need to distract NonForDevs for a while. That is their only needed function. Again, some blocks of NonForDevs did get destroyed, but the actual obsidian armor did completely survive. Obsidian is completely immune to most damage. I'm also considering banning stacking in MLT. I would like to hear all of your ideas about this and what opinions you have when it comes to this. Since banning stacking could fix multiple problems, including Obsidian's ability to move so much heavy armor by stacking their thrusters so much. So, now we have NonForDevs versus Dill pickaxe. NonForDevs won last match. Now I am not completely sure what Dill can do versus NonForDevs. This does seem kind of hopeless. I mean, especially when the ships just fly through these deadly blobs. Like that. We can see that Dill pickaxe was quite quickly dealt with these massive cannons and large fields of magma. We can see Dill pickaxe has already lost most of his fleet, while NonForDevs has lost around 500 points, which is very minor and shows how tanky obsidians can be, especially with dimension stacking allowed. So the win went to NonForDevs. Now we have the two obsidians versus each other. Who will win? I do not really know. It's possible NonForDevs much larger blocks, even though they are of a lower grade, may allow him to win. But MGV's high damage output may be too much. both Obsidians have a very similar loadout, except MGV does not have the damage from volcanic vents. NonForDevs is losing more points. He has not yet lost any significant armor blocks. Has MGV lost any blocks? Did he? I believe MGV actually lost some armor blocks. However, he turned a little bit and now all of that damage is basically gone, not useful anymore. And now NonForDevs is being attacked from the side, where he has way weaker armor, which means he's likely to lose if this continues. NonForDevs is now being distracted, which has allowed MGV to regenerate a bit. Yes, this will probably be a loss to NonForDevs, due to partly our stupidity, but also probably mainly design. MGV did have an additional layer of armor. The first round goes to MGV. We can see NonForDevs has lost a lot more points than MGV. MGV does also have additional firepower from all his minor guns. Firepower which NonForDevs does not have. I'm sure MGV has spared a lot of points due to the fact he used his thruster exploit, while NonForDevs had to put in a lot of points into thrusters. Oh, we now saw the oh. Well, we saw MGV perform the glitch where a child glitches out at light speed due to the fact that the mothership is currently being damaged, so that it cannot phase out like usual. This has now led to MGV gaining a large advantage, now attacking NonForDevs from the back. It is unfortunate when a game has bugs that allow for things like these. This fight is now unfair and should not be counted as fair. But MGV still won. Now we have NonForDevs versus Joyous 18. I hope the bombers keep their range, not going close. While the mothership, yeah, similarly, I hope it holds its range. It is made out of armor and is therefore very durable, but I doubt it can survive this. It should run now. If it doesn't, yay, you died. That's what happens when you try to face Obsidian without running. Especially if you are a farmer, I guess. Oh, Well, this bomber disintegrated due to the fact the shield is a very important structural piece, and the shield was popped, as I call it, by the magma. And by popped I mean that the shield generator was destroyed by indirect damage. Basically, the bubble takes so much damage in such a short time that some of the damage bleeds over to the generator. That popped the shield and made one of the bombers disintegrate. It could have survived if it would not have the shield as a very important structural piece, but it had. Now, NonForDevs has lost insignificant amounts of points. The capital ships of Joyous is a wreckage. This is most likely a loss. The first round goes to NonForDevs. Hopefully Joyous keeps his range this time, but it's unlikely considering the purpose of his battleship is to be a battleship, which means it probably prefers to be at close range. The capital is now taking heavy damage, core is exposed, and core is gone. The drones are trying to do their part, and currently they are the largest source of damage for Joyous 18, which is saying a lot. NonForDevs has taken insignificant amounts of damage, and the volcanic vents provide a barrier to any more explosives. It appears volcanic vents can be a very effective barrier against all launchables that need to get close to be effective. Only one of Joyous 18's ships remain, and are there only two? I see more than that. No. Well then, I saw more missiles than I thought a single ship could launch, but well, anyways, the win goes to NonForDevs. Very decisive victory. Now we have Cookie Creeper versus AnthonyDoesThings. I think Cookie Creeper is at a disadvantage here, due to the fact he is not made to face both launchables and fast ships. As you can see, he has no point defense, which leads to a quick loss. The shields can stop some launchables, but the shield spam does not improve their effectiveness against explosives at all. It only increases your energy drain. It was a relatively swift victory to AnthonyDoesThings. Launchables and the fact his ships kept their range made them very effective against Cookie Creeper. While Cookie Creeper did simply not bring anything that could be used to stop all these missiles. And the win goes to AnthonyDoesThings. Now we have Cookie Creeper versus LightningJC, and he may have a chance here. Due to the fact is, yes, as you can see, the artillery guns very quickly dealt with that one ship. And the second ship, oh, and the main ship was cored out that quickly. It is kind of incredible how fragile Veteran's challenge is, especially if you do not stack the armor. But many people oppose stacking, so yeah. Well, the first round goes to Cookie Creeper. Honestly, the match was quite close. If the mothership would have survived a bit longer, it could have dealt with both the creepers. One creeper is soon down, maybe? One creeper is down. Now the main ship from LightningJC is now severely damaged. It might get a moment to regenerate. No, it really didn't. Yeah, the main ship stopped rotating. I was thinking it might rotate to survive, but no. So the creepers won versus LightningJC. Now we have Dill pickaxe, the only other true Terran submission, versus Cookie Creeper. Here we have true Terran versus true Terran. We can see all the explosives from Dill are very effective against the shield spam. As mentioned earlier, having more shields in a small space does not mean you will have more resistance to splash, since splash damages all the shields in their radius. And we can see Cookie Creeper is completely starved of energy here. One of the reasons he's not firing much, if anything at all, is due to the fact the shield's taking up all the energy. It was a relatively quick victory. Sadly, the creepers could not stand against. Now we have Cookie Creeper versus MGV, and considering the other Obsidian failed against MGV, this seems yeah, that was about how I expected it to go. We can also see that MGV's submission is incredibly stacked. As I did mention earlier, it is possible I may ban stacking for the purposes of making the tournament better. since one of the reasons Obsidian is so incredibly powerful at the moment is due to the fact they are allowed to stack. The stacking unlocks the ability to cram a lot more thrusters in your craft, while also allowing you to keep all the functionals out of the harm's way. You can see one of the creepers are now taken out. The other cookie creeper is in a very bad state. And the win goes to MGV. Now we have Cookie Creeper versus Joyous 18. Both may win here, unless of course, like we see here, the Cookie Creepers are attacked from the side. Then it is a quite quick victory for Joyous. Oh, no. It seems like the Cookie Creeper was able to core Joyous 18. But now the Cookie Creeper has to deal with artillery, or well, missiles, long-range ships. And there are 3 of them, due to the fact Joyous 18's main capital does have a factory, so it can make ships. But it does seem like one of the bombers will die anyways. Oh, well, it died. Oh, another one almost died. But the win went to Joyous 18. He scored 1 points. Oh, this was an unique orientation. Well, I can see Joyous 18 is doing his best, but the damage from all of those rapid artilleries, yeah, it is very bad. Oh, but Joyous 18 has started making another ship, but I doubt that unfinished ship will be able to survive. Yes, it was not able to. One of the creepers are down due to large missiles. The drones are trying to help out. The bombers do have a habit of ramming wreckage, which is not good. The Cookie Creeper is incredibly exposed. Only some shielding remains, but I guess it doesn't matter due to the fact all shields are damaged by explosive at the same time. But the core is quite exposed. These missiles are unable to track anything that moves, really. So that was problematic, but the win went to Joyous. Now we have AnthonyDoesThings versus LightningJC. We can see that AnthonyDoesThings is quite quickly dealing with the support ships at least, with both torpedoes and bombardment missiles. And the support crafts are now gone. So now the main ship has to deal with all these missiles and torpedoes, which I doubt it can. Veteran's Challenge does not have particularly good point defense, and bombardment missiles are difficult to destroy even for stronger factions. LightningJC also lacks the range to deal with the long-range missile crafts, so this does seem bad. can see that LightningJC is currently in a very bad position. And he lost the first round. The fleet of LightningJC is pretty devastated. The main ship is half dead. But it is unable to deal with all the incoming missiles. It does even try to use its main lasers to deal with the missiles, but yeah, it's not enough. The shields are also all too weak. And it lost to explosives disarmers? I may have to look into that. It could be that the death explosion of explosives disarmers is too strong. Now we have AnthonyDoesThings versus Dill Pickaxe. Both are true Terran submissions. It appears that Dill Pickaxe is currently not in the lead. Dill Pickaxe might have the largest spam of bombardment missiles and the largest amount of ships, but he does not seem to be able to deal with the large ships Anthony has. The large ships have both railguns and cruise missiles, which in combination can deal with Dill Pickaxe quite easily. The railguns quickly take down the shield, while the missiles they have, also possibly torpedoes, just take out the rest. We can see that AnthonyDoesThings still has all his main ships, except that one of them was lacking its shield, but now it's back, so he has performed quite well this round. Dill Pickaxe was quite close to losing completely by elimination, but AnthonyDoesThings won first round by points. AnthonyDoesThings is currently still in the lead. We can just see how the map is filled with bombardment missiles and some torpedoes from Anthony. But the numbers Dill pickaxe has are slowly decreasing. Bombardment missile spam does appear to be effective now, even against swarms. They are a good distraction and damage source. Dill pickaxe now has around 5,000 points left, with below half of his ships alive, while Anthony is doing pretty well. Most of his support ships are gone, but none of the main ships have taken any severe damage, which is of course good for him. And the win goes to AnthonyDoesThings. Now we have AnthonyDoesThings versus MGV. Now let's see if the torpedoes or anything can deal with MGV. I personally doubt it. If I'm going to admit it, I do not think anything in this tournament has any chance of breaking MGV at any point in time. But as I also have mentioned, this will not be possible next tournament. I will patch those thrusters and not allow extreme thruster plumes caused by exploiting thrusters. As you can see, it is quite fast, but it probably weighs 100 times or more than AnthonyDoesThings' main ships. Maybe 100 times, maybe 200 times. The point is, this shouldn't be able to move at all. Well, how is the fleet doing? Well, as usual, all of the support ships from AnthonyDoesThings have died. One of the main ships are in high distress, while this one was stupid and rammed magma. This one died too. Sadly, AnthonyDoesThings does have problems with his AI. It is behaving very stupidly and often stays way too close, way closer than it should stay. Now MGV is chasing the tiny one, which I doubt will get close enough for MGV to do anything against it. The support craft from MGV actually died. It is weak to splash. I believe it lacks a shield, and it uses the smallest core obsidians have access to, which is not very durable. We can see MGV again not taking very much damage. He is actually losing some points, but that could mostly be due to the fact his support ship died. If AnthonyDoesThings would have had a lot of tactical nukes, I think he could have done severe things to MGV. But it seems like no one has tried those yet. I'm not sure. Give me suggestions. Why do you dislike the only nukes currently in these tournaments? It might be that I'm missing something. Could it be the long reload? The high energy cost? The fact it's not the Sentinel nuke? I mean, it is a smaller nuke, but it's also multiple times cheaper. Anyways, state your opinions. It will be useful. They may need a buff. We can see that around half a minute of time is left, and well, Anthony has not made much progress on MGV. MGV is simply too durable. And the win goes to MGV. He did not deal particularly much damage, but he didn't take any either. Or well, he took it, but he took it so well he didn't lose any points. Now I have Joyous 18 versus AnthonyDoesThings, and I am wondering how well this capital can deal with the missiles. I feel like the torpedoes may be bad for it, but for as long as it sometimes has a pause to regenerate, it is not really a problem. Currently the points are quite close, but Joyous has no way to deal with... Oh, Joyous lost one of his bombers here. Two of Anthony's main ships targeted it, and it led to a loss. Yeah, Joyous has no way to deal with these fast crafts. They're way too fast, and they have a medium shield, which is quite tanky, way tankier than the large farmer shield. Currently the shields of the evolved farmers are unbalanced compared to all the other factions. Well, especially through Terran. Actually, True Terran is the only faction that received a balance patch to the shields. Oh, finally Joyce came close to doing something, but also not really. He did lose quite a lot of mass, which made him a lot faster, which could actually be positive in this case. And the shields still block any explosions. So, AnthonyDoesThings won the first round. Due to the fact Joyous does not really have any way to deal with Anthony's ships. I mean, the bombers are Well, even the bombers are actually far from fast enough to keep up with Anthony's ships. But they do have some lasers, but even then, they have far too few lasers to actually get through the shields of Anthony's ships. So yeah, these two fleets cannot fight on even terms. Joyous has not yet lost anything important. While AnthonyDoesThings has lost most of his support ships. Again, one of his support ships are alive. It's the largest one. Oh, yeah, Joyous is about to lose, and he lost another bomb. He lost one bomber. He has not yet lost the other. Well, oh, maybe. No. That shield allows AnthonyDoesThings to actually be quite tanky, even though he is very fast. Now we have LightningJC versus Dill. Dill is losing ships. And the main ship from LightningJC is using its main guns against the missiles sometimes, it seems like. Oh, it does have severe damage though. I'm not sure the main ship can survive this. I don't think so. The shields are far too weak and the ship is already cored. All that point defense is still not enough. Well, the first round goes to Dill. Now the main ship is under heavy fire, the support ships are pretty much gone, and Dill has this time not lost a single ship, which is very bad news for LightningJC since he just lost. Now we have LightningJC versus MGV. We can see a massive size difference here, but even though LightningJC has all that damage, I actually doubt he can completely get through that ring unless MGV is distracted for unreasonably long. I mean, LightningJC has no more support ships, and yeah. Well, MGV at least started smoking. The Main ship was now unsupported, so it had even less time to do damage. Which means, yeah. At the moment, I feel like Obsidian is dominating the meta. Even though they are incredibly slow, usually when they are not exploited, like what MGV has been doing, and then yeah, they are slow, but their ability to tank damage is incredible. The win goes to MGV. Now I have LightningJC versus Joyous18. What I was about to say is that, yeah, Obsidian is currently even making a whole faction obsolete, Timpor, just because of their existence. So, but I do think a ban to stacking could fix Obsidian a bit. Oh, Joyous lost his main ship very quickly. That is very bad news. So, yes, I think banning stacking will be sufficient. I could even return Obsidian's radius limit to normal, because they would not be able to spam thrusters all that much anymore. So LightningJC appears to be able to pretty much keep up with these missiles. Farmer missiles are extremely fragile compared to true Terran ones. So LightningJC has a chance to recover. He is not attempting to turn though. Not that that will help with the speed of the bombers. So, LightningJC actually won first round on points due to the incredible point lead Veterans Challenge gets. So, all LightningJC had to do was to just survive, which he actually managed to do, luckily for him. But it does not actually seem like the point lead Veterans Challenge gets is all that significant, since as we have seen this tournament, any designs that are actually effective against Veterans Challenge very quickly went through the main ship. The true Terrans, the Obsidians, yeah, it is very fragile. Anyways, Joyous18 lost his main capital again. Sadly, it's not outfitted to fight enemies far larger than itself. Even though Veterans Challenge is fragile, they can bring just about the same amount of firepower as other factions, just that the firepower is generally way less effective in terms of range, velocity, and space efficiency, due to everything being designed just badly. But LightningJC may still win. I mean, he will probably win, not still. The fact Joyce 18 now has no way to deal with him. LightningJC has not taken any damage for a while now. He did take some now. And the win goes to LightningJC. Now we have Dill pickaxe versus MGV. I doubt Dill can do anything to MGV. But give it a go. Yes, the Dill's ships are dying into the magma blobs. Dill is having severe issues surviving, but he has actually somehow damaged MGV a fair bit, but most of the points are probably received from this very much smoking and burning support craft. The main ring, it does not appear to even smoke in any degree. I mean, I see some tiny smoke, but yeah, it's not useful. So it seems like Dill may actually lose by elimination instead of just points. Dill only has one ship left, and MGV's support ship never died. And the first round goes to MGV. Oh, the MGV support ship is taking quite a bit of fire. I'm not completely sure how the core is surviving. It's possible the support ship actually has a shield. It does not seem like it, and the support ship actually died. Ooh, maybe MGV will lose now. Not happening. I just think it's incredible how my factions are designed in a way that allows this to happen if you exploit a single feature. This should really not be possible. And I am saying my factions are vanilla balanced. But that can happen, so yeah. Well, now we have Dill versus Joyous 18. I am actually not sure what will happen here. The lasers may be able to swat down Dill's ships, or the bombardment missiles just cause too much trouble. The heavy turrets are being incredibly useful when they hit. Luckily for Joyous, the shields are still holding up. Oh, one of them have failed. The armor is not up anymore. Oh, both shields have failed now. That is very not good for Joyous. Joyous's capital has failed, and due to that, Dill Pickaxe is now leading considerably on points. And I believe those bursts of minigun fire can easily take down the shields of the bombers. But the bomber is quite fast. The bomber may survive, but Dill Pickaxe has that point lead. Oh, it won't survive. And the first round goes to Dill Pickaxe. Now, the fight was actually a bit close, maybe. If Joyous manages to remove enough of Dill Pickaxe's ships so that they cannot make the shields fail, because that was quite close, then it's possible Joyous may win. Joyous is currently losing the most points. He has actually lost a bomber already. But the fact a lot of Dill Pickaxe's fleet is targeting the bombers gives the capital some time to take down some ships. Even though Dill Pickaxe has only lost one ship yet. Yes, this is probably certain doom. Yes, the capital is down. Joyous 18 is down to very low amounts of points. And Dill Pickaxe has only lost 3 ships. And the ship is gone. Dill Pickaxe takes the win. Now I believe this is the last fight. We have MGV versus Joyous 18. The capital died near instantly. The support ship from MGV is down. But those missiles are not likely to take MGV down. The majority of the missiles are being taken down by both the magma flying around and the main guns, surprisingly. The bombers are coming a bit close. One and a half minutes is left. Joyce 18 had his shield fail and the bomber is coming dangerously close. MGV has lost below 500 points. I am wondering what MGV is doing, since it does have resources that it could use to make support ships. One of the bombers died due to AI stupidity. And the first match goes to MGV. Now, I do not have many hopes for Joyce's capital, simply due to the fact, well, it's Obsidian that's fighting it. And I was right in that. Yeah, MGV is stupidly durable. This is probably Quincy level, due to one simple exploit. Well, mixed with stacking of course, but yeah. One of the bombers are dangerously close, again. MGV has now made some support ships. It seems like when he designed them, he had high emphasis on making them build fast, since they do build pretty fast. But they are a bit fragile. I would have suggested a single small shield on those, just to protect against the splash that just instantly killed it now. Now, the majority of the points MGV has lost is due to him having lost his support ship. So, it seems like the last fight will go to MGV. And the top winners are MGV at first place, NonForDevs at second place, and Xderp at third place. So, this was a pretty great tournament. The amount of submissions is very good. I think it's 4 more than last time. Maybe 5. So it is really great. If we can keep up with this, it will be very good. And the submissions were varied and most of them were interesting. However, I will have to put in some new rules and change others for the next tournament to make things more interesting and more reasonable. And I will also have to patch the Obsidian exploit. But other than that, thanks for all of your submissions. This was great. It might have been a bit long, but that's to be expected, and it will be shorter once submissions are not swarms anymore or impenetrable obsidians. But yeah, and please write suggestions, complaints, or what you liked about this video, what you didn't like about this video, or in general about the tournament, down in the comments. And I will see you in the 7th MLT or any other tournament. So, goodbye and see you next time.